So I have one thing to say about Jazzpunk. That game is a goddamn drug trip. Lewis, you're muted.
I'm sorry. I fixed that.
Welcome to Story Mode. Episode 9, I think.
I think
I
9.
hope I numbered it correctly, because if I didn't, then I'm going to get yelled at again, because I numbered it incorrectly the last 2 episodes. But either way, welcome to Story Mode Episode 9, I guess. We are talking about a game called Jazzpunk. For those of you who are new to the show, this is a full spoiler cast. So we take a game, we play through it, we beat it, and then we yell about it for approximately an hour. Sometimes we go over, sometimes it's way less. Nah, that's not really set in stone.
And I'd like to add to it that for this particular game, this is a game where you want to go in knowing as little as possible. So if you haven't played the game and you're interested at all, play the game now.
Yeah, like, pause this show and leave, even if you're watching live. That is okay. Like, there will be an audio and video version up in a little while. So we are joined today with our lovely guest, Xavier Scythe. Can you introduce yourself and let us know what you do?
I'm an indie game developer. I'm not Notch, but working on getting there, hopefully. And my favorite games are first-person games, and I enjoy Blind's content, so that's why I'm here.
And you're also a beautiful cat.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. My co-host, Lewis, aka LRFLEW in chat. Can you just say a few words about yourself, what you do, and yeah.
A few words. No. I'm one of the mods for Blind's chat. I'm working on a few different projects. I program stuff.
Okay.
But, I don't know. I'm a boring guy. Okay.
No, you're not. I mean, aren't we all? Anyways, so we're all here for one reason, and that is to talk about a little game called Jazzpunk. So this game gave me issues. Number 1, it gave me motion sickness. Number 2, it crashed multiple times.
Including one time, same for me. Yeah.
It launched me into space, and I thought it was part of the game, because this game runs on a speed of acid of its own kind. Like, literally, this thing went out and made its own drugs and then came back and started snorting it, because it doesn't even want... It's too cool to go out and get anybody else's drugs, so instead it's just going to sit around and do its own drugs in its basement, because that's all it knows how to do.
I mean, you watched the trailer. Is that not exactly what just happened there?
I wish I had crickets. If I had a soundboard, I would just start playing crickets. It's just... What?
FMV is back.
In some capacity. I mean, unless I'm on drugs, there's, like, no FMV in the actual game itself, aside from the movie theater.
No, saying the trailer.
Yeah, well, I kind of wish there was some FMV in the game, but... Meh. So, I'm gonna try and explain Jazzpunk for a second. But before I explain or try and describe the game itself, I'm just going to quite simply say the gameplay is kind of like, or the way I would describe Jazzpunk as a game, forget the world, forget everything that happens within the game itself. Let's just talk about Jazzpunk for a second here. Jazzpunk plays like an old, like kind of a point-and-click adventure almost in 3D with a collection of minigames thrown around it in kind of a espionage spy movie thriller comedy thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it's worth pointing out that the side missions, the sidetrack stuff, is kind of the point of the game. Like, if you tried to play the game straight, just going through exactly what the story is, it's kind of boring.
Well, I guess. The comedy is in the side missions and the random stuff that happens in the interactions with the batshit crazy people in the world itself.
Yeah.
So, Xavier, how would you describe Jazzpunk? Just give me, like, a real quick, I don't know, description of Jazzpunk, or your experiences with Jazzpunk. How's that?
Well, it's a neo-noir filmic adventure game with tongue-in-cheek humor, a lot of charm, a lot of TV, spy movie tropes, and some cartoon tropes, as well as a lot of lovely video game and TV references thrown in. And it's completely surreal and absurd.
I'm going to tell you this. I don't think I like Jazzpunk.
I can see that.
I like it, but I don't think I like it. You know, like I like the idea of Jazzpunk. I like the setting of Jazzpunk. I like the fact that there's one point when you're literally running around in what is, I think, supposed to be the game itself. Like, you're out of the simulation and you're in the game's code at one point, which is strange.
Trying to explain what happens in Jazzpunk is a lot like trying to explain what happened in a fever dream. It's not going to make sense.
But we'll do our best, I think.
Yeah.
I have an 1,000-word doc of notes on Jazzpunk, so
I have notes of what happens.
I have a Wikipedia page. That's always me. I'm always the one with the wiki. But no, I'm trying to just think where this game went wrong for me initially, and then I don't know. Some of the humor rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't find it funny. It was just kind of okay. I mean, really? Is that what you're throwing at me
a lot
right
of
now?
the thing to point out about this is, you've already mentioned the fact that it's sort of a espionage sort of game, how it's sort of this, all this other stuff. But one word that springs to mind is it's kind of a, what am I blanking on the word? It's the kind of a retro style thing, but
retro future, kind of Fallout a little bit, right?
A little bit.
Yeah, kind of. But
Fallout after Fallout.
Retro punk was the word I was looking for. It's sort of like 80s technology, but put in a futuristic setting in a sense. Like there's a lot of things like tape decks and Commodores and all that sort of stuff, but it's also put into this more futuristic cyber world.
I have so much trouble even comparing this game to reality, though. I
think that's the point.
Okay, like, I mean, yeah, it does have that cyber retro punk-ish theme to it, but at the same time, it's so abstract and disconnected from everything that is reality. I have a real hard time looking at it and being like, okay, this is Earth in the future or in the retro future or whatever, because to me, it's not even Earth. It's a video game. You know?
It definitely
It's
wants to be its own thing.
It's a video game, and it knows it's a goddamn video game, and it accepts that, and it breaks the fourth wall at one point and states that it's a video game. So.
Yeah. States that it's a simulation.
Okay. This is a simulation.
Yeah.
But
I wanted to do that just once.
that is acceptable. I understand why you would want to do that once.
I think one of the problems with some of Jazzpunk's humor, though, is that it does rely very heavily on references. And if you don't get a reference, like there are one or two references I didn't get, it's just not funny at all. Right?
I think it was more than one or two for me.
There was a few references that I did get that I thought weren't funny.
There are some where I've had it tried to be explained to me and I still don't get it, like the sheep. The
No,
exploding
don't
sheep.
get that one. I straight up don't
I
get
don't
that
get
one.
that one either.
Okay then.
At least we're all in the same boat on that one. No, but
Yeah.
like the Wilhelm scream, for example, rubbed me the wrong way.
I don't know. I thought it was funny, but then again, I'm the kind of person that listens for the Wilhelm scream in like everything I watch.
For me, that moment was just a "we're funny" moment.
Well, which Wilhelm scream? We have to clarify
There's
that.
more than
'cause
one?
There's at least like 2 or 3. Yeah.
I only saw one.
There's the one at the very beginning of the game.
That's the one I'm referring to.
When you
Oh,
first
you didn't
cross
see the balcony
bridge.
one?
There's one later. I forget where it was, but I remember hearing it. I think it was.
The balcony.
Oh,
Where
when
you
you push the
Push
person
the
out
guy
the
off
window.
the... Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, you pushed the woman out the window.
Oh no, then there was another one. Because I was thinking of when you're in the resort and you surprise someone outside your door and the guy falls off the...
Oh,
yeah,
right.
it was there too.
Yeah, nope.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
This game does have a bit of a problem of overusing jokes. Jokes kind of overstay their welcome too often.
I think that the it's a finger. Oh, look, it's on the ground now.
Yeah,
Joke
exactly.
also gets used a lot,
Yeah.
which I
The cardboard fingers are all over.
yeah.
But I kind of thought that was a funny recurring joke, that the idea was it always happens.
Yeah. So I'm going to do a brief synopsis of the events of this game. I'm not going to describe the humor or anything, but this is what happens in order in Jazzpunk. Correct me if I'm wrong, you two. This is your job. So first, you spawn and they tell you to infiltrate this Russian building, okay?
Consulate, yes.
Yes. You run around in the courtyard for a little bit and be an idiot, and then you infiltrate and for me, the hardest part of the game, there's a puzzle where you have to adjust a clock to go to noon so that they all go on break. That literally took me an hour and a half. That was the hardest part of the game for me. It was my first gameplay session. I ran around that courtyard for like an hour, and I had to use a guide to get through that.
I need to ask, did you ever find the help system in-game? There's a hint system in there.
Nope. Where was
If you go to one of the phone booths and you type in, like, there's always a sheet of paper next to the phone booth that say, if you need help, dial 555 hint, and the screen will pop up a hint.
What? No, I never found that. Okay. That would have actually been really useful. But no, essentially, so you infiltrate this building. You run around inside, steal the thing that you're looking for. You get out. I think you go back to HQ at that point, and then they send you on vacation. You go on vacation, and then right as soon as you get on vacation, and you're basically in kind of a Hawaii-esque thing, I think, or some tropical island with a hotel on it. As soon as you get there, your boss calls you and says, okay, listen, we need you for another mission, which is here, which is great. And so then you start running around there, and then you do some really batshit crazy shit, which I can't even begin to describe. Okay? And then you find this guy who basically brings up this conspiracy theory saying, we are not real and this is a simulation. And then a lot of fourth walls get smashed, and then you kind of get launched into the game's code, I think, at that point. And then,
or like the internet or something. It's not
a series of tweets.
It's a series. That's what it is, literally. Scythe's right, Xavier's right. But then they put you into the internet. You're in there for a little bit. And then you pop back out and you go back to HQ, which is flooded. And then they're like, none of this is real. And your boss is a piece of cardboard. And you're like, what the hell? And then you go to meet with the bad guy. You hang out with his wife for a bit, I think. Or like some lady that's in his hotel for a little bit. And then you encounter the bad guy and he basically says, yo, I've captured your boss. And then you have to, I guess, play mini golf.
Play sports.
Play sports, yeah, to get your
Play
boss
sports
back.
ball.
Which is everything from like basically the Virtual Boy volleyball to mini golf. And he has a homing ball that automatically gives him a hole-in-one because he's obviously cheating.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, there's a choice. Sorry?
Gravy boat.
Right, yeah, the gravy boat. Yeah, you can race.
Boat racing.
You can race a boat full of gravy. Also, while you're on vacation,
Recreational coagulate.
also
known as sports gravy.
while you're on vacation at the beginning, there's a point where the game literally just becomes Quake.
Yeah, Wedding Quake.
Yeah, Wedding
It's
Quake.
amazing.
Yeah, so you can just run around and play Quake for a bit, shooting quirks at people. I actually kind of wish that I wish this game did the Journey thing of like now you're in multiplayer, but it doesn't, and that made me real sad. Could you imagine though if it had to like ping a server and that'd be awful.
Yeah.
The chat was amazing detail though. The way they faked it, like I thought. I mean, I'd already seen a Let's Play of Jazzpunk like a year ago, but I thought I was actually in multiplayer, just with the chat, right? And I was just like, this is amazing.
Yeah, no, it is amazing how easy it is to mimic an FPS's chat because of how mature those things are.
Yeah.
It is super easy. Did my Twitch stream go down? Odd. Anyways, if it did, the world's not going to end because we're recording this anyways. Anyways, yeah, no, it totally did, lol.
Anyways, I guess to keep this rolling, one thing, I think you missed a mission. Like you mentioned the mission where you infiltrate the Russian consulate.
Did I miss
right
Asia? With like the
you
fly
have to go
sways?
to
Yeah,
Chinatown, and you have to get the biological liver from that guy, which, by the way, has a code on it that if you scan on your phone, it basically says something like, I have it on my notes here, I think.
There's QR codes all over this game.
Yeah, Neurotech Artificial Organ Kidney. Like it scans for the code. The pig has a QR code as well, I
It
believe.
says do not consume under any circumstances.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, I scanned that one.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, eh. But anyways, and then at the very end, you encounter your boss, and you either have the option to set him free or crocify him. So I don't know what happens if you set him free, because I definitely turned him into a crocodile.
I know what happens when you set him free. So you have the option between. Hold on, I need to make sure I get this right. So you get the option between the crocifixion and setting him free. And if you hit setting him free, the little piece of paper moves off, and it turns out to be Gatorization.
Okay, so that's
It's the same thing. It's a false choice there.
okay. I wasn't sure if that was a real choice or anything. But either way, your boss turns into a crocodile and he eats you, and then you go into his stomach, and then you encounter a recording which is like, in the opportunity that I ever get transformed into a animal and I eat you, follow these instructions, and then it's the credits.
Yeah.
And you machete your way through the credits jungle, which is quite wonderful.
Yeah.
In his
There was
gut.
some great funny parts of that credit. I wrote down a couple of things, like how there's a credit for an assistant Christmas card smuggler.
What? Okay, I was like it. You know how you compared this game to a fever dream, right?
Yeah.
I finished this game this morning, when I got home from work, after working all night. So I streamed, worked all night, and then come home from work, and then finished this game, and was just kind of like, and then I just kind of went to bed. So I wasn't reading shit at that point.
Yeah. But there were some other ones like, stunts by unpaid interns, endoscopy by the player.
It's great.
That's like some Deadpool level.
Powered by the indifference engine or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of almost reminds me of the system specs of 8-bit MMO, that indie multiplayer game that's on Steam for free, I think. Its system requirements could run on anything that like mildly resembles a toaster or just like some tinfoil or whatever. And then like for sound, like for audio, it just says either have a sound card plugged in, I guess, or you could just make beep boop sounds when appropriate. I love that kind of like above level meta shit. So
Speaking of toasters, does anyone fondly remember the flying toasters?
I know that's a screensaver, and I finally got the reference, but
Oh, that's a screensaver. I mean, I just love them in Jazzpunk. Just flying by at the near the end.
yeah.
The flock of them is wonderful.
yeah, no, it's there's a lot of things about Jazzpunk that just kind of make me scratch my head a little bit. Like, I would like to meet the developers of this game. Just genuinely, I just want to shake their hand and be like, congratulations, you made something weird, now go do it again. The side missions, which are essentially mini games. One of the most notable early ones is Frogger. You play
Frogger's in the game.
You play Frogger. I'm surprised the game didn't have DDR in it. I was kind of disappointed about that. I feel like, did either of you ever play Frog Fractions?
Yes,
This has a little bit of that.
definitely the misdirection and the unexpected for sure.
It's like, here's a thing that is happening now, and you are now playing this game. Frog Fractions, for people who don't know, was a small indie title, which on the outside looks like an educational missile defense clone.
Spoilers.
Which very quickly turns into something absolutely different. And I'm very sorry about the cat, just pretend it's Xavier. But it very quickly becomes something completely different where, okay, now you're playing Space Invaders, now you're playing DDR, now you're playing something else. And this kind of, Jazzpunk, the way I would describe Jazzpunk is like Frog Fractions plus a game. So it's like a 3D space where stuff just kind of happens. And I think it's just a really, really interesting way to look at video game design in general, because here is what you know of as reality, and we are going to screw with that as much as possible, just for the sake of fucking with you. You know?
Yeah.
And there's very few games that actually do that well. And regardless of me liking Jazzpunk or not, like I have numerous issues with the low FOV, with just the way the camera moves.
The fact that you move very fast.
You move incredibly quickly, and the low FOV, the combination of that actually made me kind of motion sick. So I basically played it about this far away from my computer, to a point where like it was hard for me to play in a few spots. Plus, some of the mini games made me motion like instantly headache. The Frogger one especially comes to mind, just the way it messes with the color. That and like the jumping, I found weird. Like,
yeah, I can see that. I mean, I don't necessarily suffer from that kind of motion sickness from the games, but I can see how that might happen.
And just like a few bugs and stuff and clipping through the world. I'd love to see a speed run on this game. That's probably what I'm going to do after this. Let's go look at
I might do, but I think more interesting is just watching another regular gameplay because, you know, with all these side missions, you're bound to miss a number, and it's just sort of interesting to see the ones you missed. I mean, did either of you go through the 3 pigeon side mission?
You mean you have to shoot down the pigeons?
You have to, shoot down the 3 pigeons.
Yeah, I did that.
You did?
Yeah, I think I did that.
Reward?
I missed the Frogger, actually.
You missed Frogger?
Yeah, I missed Frogger, yeah.
Oh, okay. In the first area, if you go across the bridge to the left, there's just a frog sitting on the side of the road, and he says, I need to get my... he needs to get his hacking device.
Yeah, he got locked out of the Starbucks free Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that was it.
And his device to get on the Wi-Fi.
And he needed to get his device, so then you have to help him hop across the road to basically get the visor from Star Trek so that he can put it onto his eyes so he can see the signal floating through the air and catch it with his tongue.
I love how every time you fail, he gets a different cast on some part of his body, so he just gets like even more beaten up each time you fail.
I didn't fail, so I wouldn't know that. But yeah, no, that minigame is broken in many ways. Like the car's hitboxes are kind of fucked. But
yeah,
it is that there's a like just throw out some mini games that you guys both caught. Lewis, name like 2.
I know a mini game that you didn't go through because it's a really weird scavenger hunt where you have to go into one alleyway where the guy tells you to find the mailbox with chalk on the side, which then tells you to deliver a package to the guy on the bench, which then tells you to go over to the newspaper stand with a piece of gum on it, which then tells you to go knock on one of the buildings using the shave and haircut knock, which then tells you to go upstairs so that you can eat a pigeon and barf it out at the next level.
Did it? I'm actually not joking. I totally did that one.
Yeah.
Because I spent an hour and a bit in that opening area.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't figure out how to get into the building. So
yeah.
I totally got that achievement.
Did everybody do the flies in the China shop one?
What, oh yeah.
Breaking everything?
Yeah, that was just
Did you run around outside hitting everybody you could with that fly swatter?
Yeah, every single person, yes.
Yeah, every single person you hit with that, they turn into a fly and buzz away. It's great.
One that I did multiple times actually was also in the opening area, which was essentially a minigame where you go into the movie theater and you can just throw popcorn on people.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I did that multiple times because people kept saying different shit, and I was just in there just throwing popcorn at people. Like, this is everything I've ever wanted in life.
I think actually one of the funnier things that happens, mentioning the fly swatter, if you go to the girl who has the vase shop, where is it in my notes?
I think she says, like, I'm not into that, right?
I'm not that kind of girl.
Yeah,
and then you slap her again, and then she's like, I know, I might get into this.
Yeah.
I can get into this.
Yeah.
It's just like
that was great.
But
and also there were some different lines. Different characters have way different lines throughout the game. Like, one time I heard the line, never overclock your underwear.
What?
And yeah, it's like, I am happy that I can live in a world with the line, never overclock your underwear. Just
advice. Solid advice right there.
Yeah.
Game designers on acid.
Yeah.
Why do I get the feeling that was like a line that somebody said to somebody else at a party after someone had had way too many shots?
Oh boy.
Never overclock your underwear, man.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yep.
With all the smart wearables coming out nowadays, I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff. Like, did you realize that Jim Sterling did some voices for this game?
Yes, I actually put that in my notes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I put that in my notes.
What voices?
It's two. If I remember correctly, it was the guy who asked you to spray the spray cheese into his mouth,
Oh, really?
and the woman that appears that for the Fruit Ninja minigame.
Oh,
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the lines.
I think that's quite interesting. Yeah, they had some. Like, I mean, and they also had one of the other celebrities they had was Zoe Quinn, who's pretty famous too. So I'm surprised they got. I mean, I guess Jim Sterling would probably be pretty up to anything, but
Well, I mean, Jim Sterling's voice is supposed to be in We Happy Few as well, but he's joking that he doesn't think they're going to use it after he tore that game a new one.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
well, my voice is supposed to be in this, assuming they actually use it now.
I didn't realize he had actually voiced any people in that game until I watched one of his videos where he's like, full disclosure, I did some voices for the game, and I was like, what? What did he do?
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of the point, though. You don't want it to be instantly recognizably Jim Sterling necessarily, right?
Yeah.
That's the
You
point
did
of
a good
voice
job of
acting,
that.
right? If it's
Yeah.
recognizable, then there's no point in voice acting. So,
Did you do the Street Fighter minigame?
no.
Oh my gosh! Come on! Wow, you missed out.
What?
Yeah, I think you missed out on a lot of the minigames in the later levels if you used a guide.
I got kind of pressed for time, and I needed to sleep. So, like, the first half of the game, I played more or less everything. I stuck my nose on the wall and walked around. And then, basically, from about... around where did I just kind of start mainlining? Was
I'm going to assume somewhere around the vacation because that
end of the
minigame-
vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, simulation. From there on, I stopped looking for stuff. I'm like, I need to finish this so I can sleep.
Yeah. I think one of the interesting things about this game is there's a lot of those, side quest stuff that you can just ignore, but you basically never see anyone do. The interesting one, and I'm still not sure about the player psychology behind this. That first level, you start on that kind of, front escape in front of the building you're supposed to go to, and in fact, it tells you, infiltrate this building, and everyone always crosses the bridge in the other directions and goes away from the building. I'm still not sure.
I turned around and went directly backwards.
Yeah, it's like, why is everyone doing that? Like, that's some player psychology that I still haven't figured out.
At least for me, it was because I'm thinking, well, I need to figure out how to infiltrate it. It can't be just as easy as walking straight into the building.
Well, no, it wasn't. You had to change the time so that the people went on break and you could use their scaffolding.
See, I didn't think...
The one thing I missed with that time puzzle was I assumed initially that, I can just set it to like 11 at night and everybody will be gone. Wouldn't that be great? And I kind of wish that had been an option as well.
You'd think there would be like multiple ways to solve that puzzle, but I kind of wanted to... I set it to vodka and biscuits initially, and then I was looking at that and I'm like, wait, why aren't they all like piss drunk on the floor? This makes me sad.
Exactly.
Or like,
Yeah.
maybe if you set it to vodka and biscuits, you can just like start drinking their booze. Because there was booze hidden all over that room. Also, there was a tree claiming that it was a political refugee
Yeah.
in that room. Like, you walk up to it and you press E and it's like, I am a political refugee. And you're like, what?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that. Like if you steal the coins from the musician and you keep getting mail, like the first time it would be like, it's an uneventful news day. The second time it would be like player starts molesting mailbox, news box, and do it another time. It's like the news box is applying for a restraining order.
That poor news box.
Yeah. Also, I guess two things. Well, there's some interesting similarities. I don't know if anybody else thought of this, but like there's a couple Nintendo games. There's Mario Party and there's Poke Park.
Okay.
Poke Park has multiple games, and they're both very, very mini game focused.
Yeah.
Poke Park is interesting because it has like bits where you like walk around and explore as well as do these mini games.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. Like, there's not a lot of games you can compare Jazzpunk to, I guess, and I just found it interesting that these very different games can have some kind of somewhat similar gameplay in the fact that you're doing all these different mini games, right?
I mean,
Kind of, but we're all talking about these as kind of being mini games, but they kind of are and kind of aren't. I mean, there's some that really are, like the pizza mini game, where you go into a world made out of pizza and you get a pizza cutter and you cut up pizza men.
but it's the modern zombie game. I didn't like that
But
one.
other ones are just like
all.
things that happen in the environment. Like there's the one where you look into the microscope and you accidentally encounter microbial porn, but
That wasn't even a game. There was nothing to that one. That was just a cutscene.
Well, there was the Space Invaders, right?
yeah, well, that was just next to it. Yeah. Also, I like how there are some points where there's a lot of kind of choice to it. Like to get out of that room, you have to get past the disguise-o-meter, and there are 3 different ways you can get out of that room: the normal, the silly, and the ridiculous way. Curious what everyone did.
Wait, sorry.
If you
what were the
remember.
options? I'm trying to figure out why I'm dropping 80% of my frames.
Yeah.
What were the options?
I chose the one where you put the face over your face. If I'm thinking of the right thing.
Which
Oh.
face? You're talking about the employee of the month?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
That's kind of the sane way of solving that puzzle.
sat on a printer and then accidentally
Yeah.
solved the puzzle.
Yeah, you did it the ridiculous way. So there are 3 ways you can do it. You can either put on the face of the employee of the month, you can either put on the face of mainframe, or you can photocopy your butt and pretend to be a butt man.
I was a buttman.
Yep.
And it says, "Welcome back, Dr. Buttnick," I think. But no,
Yeah.
like, I solved that puzzle by mistake, and the reason I say that is because I genuinely solved it by mistake. And then later I was like, wait, can I? And I went and I took the employee of the month off the wall and solved it again. And it said, "Welcome back, sir," whatever the name was. So it, yeah, I definitely solved that by mistake. I did play Space Invaders like 4 times though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to
There's
think.
also the fire alarm and the ice alarm. That one cracked me up.
Right
Oh,
now,
that was amazing.
right now we're just kind of discussing like a greatest hits of Jazzpunk, right? And
Well, what else can we talk about this?
We can talk about like the technical issues that I encountered a few.
well,
I had my computer crash, but I don't think that was the game. That was just my computer locking up.
my game crashed when I tabbed out to respond to something that Lewis sent me on Discord. The game launched me into space, as I mentioned earlier. Did I mention that on here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the game did launch me into space once, which was special.
I soft locked the game because I loaded a save where I had done like 3 out of 6 of the items and it forgot the first 3.
Actually, in Chinatown, I clipped through a wall with the fly swatter. I clipped through a wall and then got stuck out of bounds for a few seconds and popped back in. So it does have some. It feels like it's missing a layer of polish. I don't know. I think a lot of the mini games, I guess, activities. Let's just call them that. A lot of the activities are kind of broken in different ways. But then again, you're kind of forcing a game that is designed to do one thing to do another thing within a different game.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I played this game, I think, 3 times now, and I've only encountered like the one issue.
Man, maybe stuff like that's always like varying.
Maybe the Mac port's better. I don't know. I've had a lot less issues than you've had, and I was playing on a Mac.
Yeah.
Maybe I just go looking for things.
Yeah, I crashed the game once. I broke the game twice where I had to reload my save. So I once crashed it while spinning a record in the guy's apartment, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I just spun too hard, and it just crashed it, which is amusing. And then I was launched off the map and got stuck. And then I had the same issue with the 3 of 6 items from reloading a save. And then beyond that, also, I got really annoyed with it because it assumes you want to use a gamepad by default, and if you change it in the settings and restart the game, it reverts back to assuming you want to use a gamepad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just complain about that for a second there? It wasn't compatible with my Xbox One controller. Wanted to use a gamepad by default. Was bound to my Xbox One controller, but wasn't working with the Xbox One controller. I had to go into the settings and manually change all of the settings to keyboard and mouse. Then the game crashed when I hit enter, and then I had to manually change the settings again. So I spent about 10 minutes without actually being able to move right when I first started playing, which was special.
Exactly. And
Weird, I didn't have that issue, but
I
yeah.
think it's because I had a controller plugged in. If you have a controller plugged in, it assumes that you want to use a controller, but it
Probably.
I have two controllers on my computer. One of them was plugged in, one of them wasn't. I have this Razer controller, which is my old one, which this trigger doesn't work. Don't ever buy a Razer controller, even if it's $10. And then I have this one, which is just a standard Xbox One controller with a disconnectable cable. This one was plugged in. And it thought that this is what I wanted to play on, but wouldn't work. It would bind to this one, which I plugged in later, and it worked with this one, but it didn't work with this one. So that is multiple levels of special. Maybe it's because this one's hooked into the Windows 10 crap. I don't know.
Maybe something like that. Who knows?
Who knows?
for me, I tried my DualShock 4, which didn't work with it. And I tried a generic PlayStation 3 controller. And that, well, actually, I didn't use it, but I'm assuming it wouldn't work either, since it didn't work with the official PS4 controller. And as well, on top of that, one other thing that really bugged me technically about the game was the fact that there's no autosave, really. So you have to manually save, or else you're back at the start of each mission.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
with that. I don't know.
If it crashes or whatever, you're like... The thing is, too, with Jazzpunk,
Once you know what you're doing, the missions aren't long. You can get through each mission in like 3 minutes.
yeah, but whatever. I took longer than that. But it's just so annoying to like have to go through. The jokes in Jazzpunk are good, but seeing them again once you've already seen them, it's just so boring. Like they're really, you don't laugh at them a second time if you're going through it.
Very little replayability in Jazzpunk.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to try and describe this game because this is a story show, right? We discuss story, and Jazzpunk is very heavily meta, right? It takes like all of the concepts of what is the most meta we can be. And I don't know if I can talk about it. I don't know if my brain is smart enough to decompile that shit to be able to make it into sentences.
I mean, we said already before that this game is like a fever dream. You really can't talk about it as a cohesive story. It's not like Brothers, where you can say, well, there's this arch and the characters change and there's all these emotions throughout it. Or it's not like, it's not really a linear story. I mean, you can talk about what happens in the game, and there are missions, there are kind of semi-arcs, but that's not really what the game is about. And that's sort of the problem of it, that there is not really a story that you can discuss as a whole, only discuss how that story was told in parts.
I think I'm going to have to partially disagree with you because, like, you can definitely just focus on the linear content and the linear story, like being a secret agent, going on these missions, just forget the side stuff. For example, like one of the strengths I would say of the linear story was one part where you disguise yourself in the resort, right? And you go to swap out the briefcase. And along the way, sure, you can go across random NPCs, and their reactions are amazing. I personally kissed every single NPC in that level just to see what the reaction was. But as I was saying, like I think the story itself, the linear story, if you ignore the side missions, is good. It's not great, but it suits the style of the game, and it has that kind of B-movie spy feel that I think it achieved what it aimed for.
Okay.
I definitely agree that the game achieved what it was aiming for, but clearly what it was aiming for was just, let's strip out everything that makes sense and replace it with crazy shit, but still try and have a cohesive plot line. Like, thinking about the game, I can be like, okay, this is kind of a Austin Powers-esque James Bond parody noir. Sort of. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I mean, yes, but, I guess that's where I sort of disagree because, you can understand what happens in the game, but I mean, like, try actually, giving some details of what happens in the story, and it stops making sense.
It stops making sense, but so does Austin Powers at a point, right? I think that this is the best Austin Powers video game we have ever had and will ever have.
I should watch Austin Powers at some point.
You've never watched Austin Powers?
Wow.
What are you doing with your life, man? Holy crap.
At least I did. I don't remember it. So
okay, welcome to
watch it.
On the next episode of StoryMode Podcast, we will be talking about Austin Powers. No, we're a video game podcast.
We could do that.
Man, I just have to record it offline. Because that would...
Yeah.
Video game content! Anyways,
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think... What?
I think what's interesting is that I think there's two ways of looking at Jazzpunk. You can look at it as a game where the mini games kind of have an impact on the story to an extent, like they're part of it, or you can look at it as something where there's this basic story and then all the mini games and stuff is just content to enhance the environment, the immersion in the world, and to make you feel like you're in this absurd, surreal world. And you can't ignore that. Like, you can ignore a lot of content in the game and just go with the story. You're not going to have as good a time, but you can just have that story separate from the rest of the mini games, and you can I think you can evaluate it based on that linear path to an extent.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think just looking at this I'm trying to describe this game like minus all the drug trip shit. Like, I think that it does a really good job of abstractly telling a story. And I think that's what I liked about this game. Like, looking past all of the issues that I have with it, the technical issues, the fact that it gave me a headache at one point, looking past all of that, I think that Jazzpunk does a fantastic job of minimalistic game design, and like it makes a fantastic minimalist game that tells a interesting story within a crazy, insane, messed up drug trip world, and then bloats it out with distractions to confuse you and causing you to trip up even more. If this game didn't have any of those mini games, it'd be boring as hell. Like, there would be no game here.
Okay, I need to ask something now at this point, because towards the beginning of the podcast, you had said that your kind of final thoughts on the game was that you didn't really like it.
I don't.
But so far through the episode, we haven't really come up with an answer for why.
I don't.
And so you just gave a good description. Like, what part of that was the problem for you? What part of that breakdown did you not like?
Parts of it, okay. Kind of had the same problem with it that I have with Austin Powers. Some of the humor rubbed me the wrong way. Some of the references I found to just be corny and unfunny. Some of the references that I didn't get probably were the ones that I found to be not funny. The humor in this game gets incredibly meta at times, and if you look at a reference and you see a reference and you understand what that is referencing, then it's funny, right? But if you see a reference, you don't get the reference, it goes right over your head, it ceases to be funny. You're just like, well, that was weird. And there was a lot of that. Well,
so to try to summarize it, your issue was you had issues with the humor.
Mostly the humor and the general technical issues. I like the idea of the game. I think it's a really cool idea. And I feel like some of the mini games were really poorly designed, or like kind of we need a thing here. What can we put here? Type thing. You know what I mean? Some of them worked really well in the environment, and then some of them were just screwed up.
Just kind of there, like
They were just
Wedding Quake.
They were just kind of bad. Well, Wedding Quake, I think, was one of the best ones, in my opinion. I'm more referencing...
I think
Go on.
maybe one of the problems, too, with this style of games, with all of these minigames and all of this gameplay is it's very hard to refine all of the minigames and make them all smooth and fun and perfect, right? Because you're adding so many different types of gameplay, obviously, right? So, like, obviously they put a lot of work into Wedding Quake to make it really feel smooth, but some of the other minigames, like especially like some of the sports stuff, like the gravy boats, like I found that the controls are kind of pretty awkward in that. And a few
Really? Because I thought the gravy boats were pretty good for the idea of feeling like you're driving on water.
I think...
Okay, I'm just used to like racing games, so maybe I'm just a snob in that regard.
Gravy Boats was terrible. That's all I have to say.
I've never lost the gravy boats. That's easy.
Winning isn't the thing. It's how the minigame feels. I'm just saying the minigame... I agree with Xavier at the fact that that minigame just feels kind of like shit.
The minigame I thought that felt like shit was the one immediately after it where you're in the VR tennis.
Well, that too.
Well...
No, once you learn the secret for how to beat that really quickly...
Can I say something about the VR tennis one?
Go right ahead.
Yes, it felt like shit, but it's supposed to be a Virtual Boy.
Yeah.
I think that was a meta joke in and of itself, the fact that one was shitty.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a little bit there, though. I think the side note, if you don't want to play that mini game, you can just grab one of the folding chairs that's on the side and hit him in the game, and you win.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How did you figure that out?
I watched someone else do it online.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I think is interesting too is, I mean, I never owned or like, I was not somebody who owned or knew of the Virtual Boy like growing up.
Neither did I. I had no idea.
I still got
that
the
thing
reference,
existed.
and I'm not
I think
sure
the Virtual Boy came up before I was born.
Like, why did we get the Virtual Boy? Like, they didn't say Virtual Boy anywhere, but like, I guess we all just got it somehow because maybe it's just an icon.
Red wire frame graphics.
Yeah.
That's it. Literally, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. Also, I'm dropping like
technically Virtual Boy
40% of
came
my
out
frames,
after
and
I
I
was
don't know why. This is stressing me out. Why am I dropping
Yeah.
so many frames?
Oh.
Worst case scenario, we just record locally. Oh well.
But I was wrong. Yeah, Virtual Boy came out after I was born.
Shows how well that was advertised. But,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I've already said my piece on Jazzpunk. So if either of you guys have like closing thoughts on, I think what's interesting about Jazzpunk is just the design of it, more than the game itself. You know?
Yeah. You know what's interesting is you've said a lot of things about the game, you know, things that you liked, things that you didn't, and basically said, so my final thoughts were I didn't really like it. I'm kind of like, I had the exact same points, you know, I liked kind of the same things. I disliked the same things, and I ended up with a more positive experience in the end.
It wasn't an inherently negative one, but it was kind of a meh.
It left an impact on me. I mean, the trailer, like, the only thing I knew about this game was the trailer. And I was like, this is a ridiculous trailer. I have no clue what this game's about. I'm going to go ahead and play the game. I played the game. And after I played the game, I was like, you know, that trailer told me nothing about the game, but it told me everything I need to know about the game. It explained the game as perfectly as you could. And that's kind of my synopsis about it. It's like, you know, if you like that trailer, then you're probably going to like the game.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Xavier, do you have any final thoughts? Or just in general on Jazzpunk? Are things breaking? No.
Oh, we back. Are we back?
Did we lose it? I think something's going wrong on my end because I'm still dropping frames.
I'm back.
What's going on?
Okay.
You guys can hear me?
Yeah, we
I can hear you.
When was the last?
Okay, because my internet completely died.
Great.
But
Yay.
we're good.
I think we're closing up here soon, anyways. So I'm just curious. Do you have any final thoughts on Jazzpunk, just in general?
I would say it's kind of an interesting look at how adventure games can be told in first-person 3D. This is like very almost traditional adventure game style, like puzzles, and you don't see a lot of that nowadays. I mean, there's a new game from the creators of Myst, but you don't see too much. Often you see very much more like your Talos Principle, your Portal, your games like that. They're very, very focused on those physics-based puzzles and that kind of experience, whereas Jazzpunk, the puzzles are just a side thing like traditional adventure games. It's more focused on narrative, and whether that does that well is debatable, but it does do a good job at ensuring players focus on the narrative and the environment more so than just tedious puzzle solving.
I think Jazzpunk's an important game. I'm not sure why, but I think it's an important game.
I think it's worth addressing something that we haven't at all, and I think we've done a good job avoiding it, but might as well bring it up now. Did anyone else notice that the aesthetic style is very similar to Gravity Bone and 30 Flights?
Yes.
Yeah, I could see an inspired by or a we liked these things and wanted to make our own type thing.
It's funny because apparently the developer did not know about those games at all.
Those guys need to hang out, man.
Yeah, but like when you think about it, they're kind of similar. They're both kind of this espionage story told through kind of a non-linear gameplay system, and
interesting.
And they both take control of the camera a fair bit to tell the story, right? Like 30 Flights and Gravity Bone, like they definitely seize control of the camera for certain moments. Same thing Jazzpunk does. I think maybe one of the interesting things, it might just be like Convergent Evolution, because it's an easier art style, that more blocky art style than, say, most 3D art styles.
Yeah. I mean, they're similar, but they're at their core very different. Like, I mean, Jazzpunk is a comedy game. 30 Flights isn't. That's the easiest way to phrase it.
30 Fights is pretty funny, but okay. I don't know. I found that game funny.
I mean, it's funny, but it's not a comedy. There's kind of a distinction there.
I think Jazzpunk actually, when you think of it as a comedy game, there are so few games that do comedy well, especially modern games, like in the past 10 years. I think one of the reasons Jazzpunk stands out so much is because it's, one, a good adventure game, which is very rare, especially 3D adventure game, and two, it's a very good comedy game, especially for a video game. Like, sure, for movies and stuff, whatever, you can argue that games don't do comedy well, and usually they don't, but Jazzpunk definitely does comedy well.
I think I just got it. Jazzpunk is the best modern example of slapstick in video games.
Yeah.
It's slapstick comedy, the video game. Like, slapstick comedy is hard to do with real people, and even harder to do in a video game setting. I think one of the few examples I can think of is maybe some old Double Fine stuff, like some old Lucas stuff, like old Tim Schafer games. I think is I don't know, Maniac Mansion, stuff like that. Be an example of like old slapstick in video games. But yeah, no, that's how I don't know. I don't want to say I'm right, this is it, but that's kind of actually how I'm thinking after your description.
Yeah. Does that change your thoughts on the game?
No, I mean, I still have issues with it. I still think it.
Okay.
Like, you can play. Okay. I hated To the Moon. I don't hate this game.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Hated To the Moon.
You need to go back and watch that
To the Moon.
episode.
I hated it.
You need to. That game is absolute horseshit. That game's terrible.
I completely disagree with you.
Worst thing ever created.
Don't trash the soundtrack, though. You have to appreciate the soundtrack.
Okay, the music was good. Some of the art was decent, too. Everything else about the game is terrible. Sorry.
I disagree with that, but, you know.
Video games
we've already talked about that game.
It's okay. You shredded Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons for me, and so I will cry forever in the corner.
Yep.
Also, two quick games I would compare this to: Firewatch and The Witness. and those are the weirdest
The
games.
Witness. Sorry,
Yes, The Witness.
The Witness.
And I would say that only because of the cinema puzzles in The Witness, where you activate the different clips in the cinema, and they're like,
I need to actually finish The Witness, but
I need to actually play The Witness.
I got all the way to the final puzzle. I unlocked the mountain and then got to the first puzzle in the mountain. I was like, no. I'm gonna go to bed now, and I never opened that game again, so I probably forgot how to play that thing. Oh well. That's a good game. Need to beat it again. But Firewatch was fun. Not a hard game. Good game.
no, not at all.
Everybody should play Firewatch, but
It's the best. It's one of the best examples of a modern adventure game, and I think that's one of the things too. Like I can compare it to Jazzpunk for that reason, because both kind of say similar style first-person adventures, but Firewatch obviously does a way better job at overall narrative, right?
it's a thriller, you know.
Yeah, I mean, not just that. I'd say narratively, it succeeds a lot. It's a lot more effective than Jazzpunk. Jazzpunk is very good at gameplay. Firewatch is a lot better at narrative. They're kind of two sides of that coin.
I don't know. I wouldn't even say that Jazzpunk is great at gameplay. Everything about that game felt floaty to me. The jumping felt weird. The moving felt weird. Nothing was tight. The controls weren't tight. I felt like I was on a sheet of ice.
The controls felt consistent to me. It never really felt like my control scheme was changing all that much.
Sure, but everything felt like it was running on a sheet of ice to me. You know?
Blind, I agree with you. I thought that might be because I played with keyboard and mouse and not gamepad, potentially. I think I enjoyed the game a lot more watching it as a Let's Play because I didn't have to deal with the controls. I just watched somebody else deal with the controls and they didn't complain because YouTubers complain less, I guess.
Because YouTubers want to sell copies of games. It's a conspiracy theory, right? Because there's a Green Man Gaming link beneath it or whatever, which is automatically going through the referral. I don't know. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know. I think that, like, there's just... I think if this game just had less technical issues and just felt more polished, I would have loved it. But instead, I just can say, it's okay. Play it if you can get it for $2. That's how much I paid for it. Worth it.
I could say, like, that's one of the things. I think I came out of it playing this game with a lower opinion of it than from watching it. Because watching it, I absolutely loved it. Didn't have to deal with the controls. I just assumed the YouTuber was bad at it when they failed. It's great. It's great. But playing it, it just really doesn't feel very good. Really doesn't feel very solid, and it feels like they needed to play test more, get that feel down. The only thing that feels really good in Jazzpunk is the Wedding Quake.
I like to imagine that somewhere they have a functioning multiplayer version of that never left the office.
Yeah.
I actually thought I saw on their blog or something about how they like had it set up for local multiplayer or something at one point.
Oh my god.
That'd be amazing.
And I wish finished it or completed it or released it or something.
Release it for free as an add-on.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. So, Lewis, we've both me and Xavier have both kind of stressed our issues with the controls. Did you have any issues with the control? Not at all?
No. I mean, I didn't have any controller plugged in, so I didn't have any issue with that. And I really didn't much. I mean, I understand what you mean by it's floaty, but I didn't feel that. I felt like I was moving quickly, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I just kind of was bouncing around.
I guess. Maybe if you could wall jump.
I don't know.
If I could have wall jumped in this game, I think I would have liked the controls more. Anyways, I think as I've said before, I've said my piece. There's some things I like about this game, some things I dislike about this game, and some things I really like about the game. I'm kind of mixed, but I like Jazzpunk. Are we in agreement with that? We're not a review show, so we're not going to rate it, but sometimes
Perfect 5 out of 7.
17 pigeons out of middle finger. I don't know. Anyways.
I don't know.
This was fun. This was a good episode.
Yeah.
This is your first time watching the StoryMode podcast. I think we're coming to to a close here. You can follow the show at Real Story Mode, or check the website, which has a timer ticking down, which is usually right. Generally gives you an idea on when the next episode will be. And
Sorry.
That's okay. If your internet breaks,
I dropped again. Hopefully you guys didn't notice.
I noticed, but it's okay. We're just closing up here anyway, so once again, my name is Blind. I'm the host. If you want to follow me, just hit the follow on Twitch, and I'm gonna let these two talk about their shit now. So let's start with the guest. Xavier, what do you do? Where can people find you on the internet? Pimp your shit.
All right. Well, you can find me on Twitter at Xavier Scythe, XavierSythe. You can also find the current game I'm working on at nanoforge.net, nanoforge.net. And you can't pre-order anything yet, but there should be some mailing list or something up soon that you can check out. Or you can just follow me. I tweet about my game mainly and nothing else. And it was delightful to be on this podcast.
Awesome. And Lewis, you're bad at this, but what have you been on?
I actually have something I want to talk about this time, so I won't be as bad. I have hit the first release for OpenMC2, so if anyone remembers the Rockstar racing game Midnight Club 2, I am currently working on a open-sourced rewrite of the engine. I have hit the first release. It adds windowed mode support. You can check it out, so my username down there, LRFLEW. If you just go to lrflew.com/openmc2, it will redirect you to the GitHub page for it.
And that's pretty much us for today. If you watch this live, then thank you very much for tuning in to the 15 people that are watching right now. And if you're listening to the audio, I don't know how you found this, but thank you. And if you're watching it on my YouTube channel and you made it all the way to the end, I'm either very, very sorry or congratulations. One of the two. I hope you enjoyed this show. It's fun putting this on. We do this once a month. It's supposed to be it was originally the second Sunday of every month, and then it was the third Sunday of every month, and I think this is I don't know at this point.
This is the third Sunday.
This is the third Sunday? Okay. But either way, thank you, everybody who tuned in. And I'm going to host somebody else on Twitch now. So thanks to everybody who watched. And we're going to do the awkward wave.